The sun had barely dipped beneath the horizon when Natalie Reynolds found herself lingering in the dimly lit kitchen of her lakeside cabin. The soft hum of cicadas blended with the faint lapping of water against the dock, a sound that had always brought her comfort. She wrapped her fingers around a steaming mug of tea, gazing out the window with a heart too full and a mind too restless. The summer had brought many things: heat, peace, reflection, but nothing as dangerous as him. Ethan McAllister had come into her life unexpectedly. He was her best friend's younger brother, only a few years younger, but their lives had never intersected meaningfully until that weekend. When Amanda invited Natalie to spend a week at their family cabin, she hadn't thought much of it. A break from her busy city life sounded perfect. But then Ethan showed up 2 days in, taller than she remembered, broader, and with eyes that seemed to read right through her. Natalie tried to pretend she hadn't noticed the way his shirt clung to his chest, the way his voice had deepened into something smooth and commanding. She told herself she was imagining the way he looked at her, the way he paused before speaking as if tasting the words. She was 33, successful, confident, and always in control. Ethan was 28, still searching for himself, a musician who hadn't quite found his break. It should have been harmless. But it wasn't. That first night, they talked late into the evening on the porch, Amanda having gone to sleep early. The conversation had started with harmless banter about movies and music, but it gradually deepened into something else. He listened to her in a way no one had in years. When he asked about her writing, her ambitions, her regrets, she found herself answering honestly. Too honestly. His hand brushed hers when she passed him a drink, and neither of them moved. It lingered, a spark passing between them that neither acknowledged aloud. The air shifted. When their eyes met, something passed through her, an old ache awakened, a sense of longing she had buried beneath years of professionalism and responsibility. The next day, she tried to keep her distance. She joined Amanda on hikes, helped cook meals, and avoided the porch at night. But Ethan was always there. Helping, watching, saying things that made her laugh when she didn't want to. He had a way of making the world feel lighter, easier. It had been years since someone had seen her, really seen her. On the third night, Amanda left to visit a friend in the neighboring town, promising she'd return the next afternoon. Natalie stayed back, insisting she needed quiet time to write. Ethan stayed too, claiming he had new music he wanted to work on. The storm rolled in not long after sunset, and by then, the two of them had already opened a bottle of wine. Lightning flashed across the lake as they sat inside, the fireplace crackling between them. Natalie could barely focus on the book in her lap. She sensed him watching her. He didn't look away when she glanced up. Neither of them spoke for a long time. "You're hard to read," Ethan finally said, his voice low. She looked up, her breath catching slightly. "And you're not." He smiled. "I've never been good at pretending." Natalie set the book aside, heart pounding. "Then don't." The silence that followed was deafening. He stood slowly, walked around the couch, and sat beside her. The fire cast shadows across his face. His hand moved to hers again, fingers intertwining. She didn't pull away. She couldn't. "This feels wrong," she whispered, but her body leaned closer. "Then why does it feel so right?" he replied. His lips brushed hers, tentative at first, as if waiting for permission. She didn't stop him. She kissed him back, deeply, desperately, as if the world outside no longer mattered. Her hands moved to his chest, feeling the heat of his skin beneath the fabric. When he pulled back slightly, breath ragged, his eyes searched hers. "Tell me to stop," he murmured. She shook her head, voice trembling. "I begged him not to stop. And he didn't." The hours blurred after that. It was as if time bent around them. Their kisses deepened, touches became bolder, and the passion they had both restrained erupted in waves of desire. But nothing crossed the line of taste or decency. It was intense, real, and deeply emotional. It wasn't just physical. It was the culmination of all the lonely nights, the unspoken dreams, the ache of two people who hadn't known how badly they needed each other until then. The next morning was quiet. Natalie awoke tangled in the sheets, Ethan sleeping peacefully beside her. The storm had passed, but inside her chest, another had just begun. She slipped out of bed and stared at herself in the bathroom mirror. Guilt gnawed at her. Amanda was her best friend. What would she think? What would she say if she ever found out? But then she remembered how Ethan had looked at her, the tenderness in his touch, the way he spoke to her as if she were the only person in the world who mattered. It wasn't just desire. It was connection. But it was also complicated. When Ethan woke, he found her on the porch, coffee in hand, eyes on the lake. "Hey," he said softly, wrapping a blanket around her shoulders and kissing her temple. "We shouldn't have," she said, even as she leaned into him. "Maybe," he admitted. "But I don't regret it." Natalie turned to look at him. "What happens now?" "I don't know," Ethan said, honest as ever. "But I know I don't want this to be just a memory." They spent the rest of the day talking, really talking, about what this meant, how to handle Amanda, and what their future could look like. They knew it wouldn't be easy. But sometimes, the most meaningful things aren't. When Amanda returned, nothing seemed different. Natalie and Ethan kept their secret, for now. They weren't ready to explain, to answer questions they didn't fully understand themselves. But when Amanda wasn't looking, their fingers brushed. When they said goodnight, their eyes lingered a second too long. Weeks passed. Natalie returned to the city. Ethan stayed behind to finish recording some music. They kept in touch. Texts, late-night calls, video chats that stretched into early morning. The distance was hard, but it only made their bond stronger. Eventually, Amanda found out. Not through a slip or betrayal, but because Natalie couldn't keep lying. She told her everything, how it happened, how she felt. Amanda was shocked, hurt even. But she saw the truth in Natalie's eyes. This wasn't a fling. It wasn't a betrayal of friendship. It was love. Messy, complicated, but real. It took time, but Amanda came around. She forgave, not just because she loved Natalie, but because she saw how happy Ethan was. How he had grown, changed. How he looked at Natalie with the kind of affection every sister dreams her brother would find. Months later, Ethan moved to the city. He and Natalie got an apartment together. Small, cluttered with books and guitars, but filled with laughter and music. They didn't rush anything. They lived, they grew, and they loved each other with the kind of tenderness that only comes from surviving storms and choosing each other through the chaos. Looking back, Natalie often thought about that night. About how one moment of vulnerability had changed her life forever. She had begged him not to stop, and he didn't. Not with the kisses, not with the love, and not with the way he made her feel seen. And in the end, that was the kind of desire that wasn't just forbidden. It was fate.